single session. So for those of you that have done this several times and maybe want to dust off the rust and just take a few of the sessions, you're able to do that. You can jump in whenever you want, and yet you can take it per class. So just wanted you guys to know you're free to jump into that if you want more information on it, and you want us to follow up with you after this. Just reach out or put in the chat, and we'll do that.
Yeah, that's the new updated Rockstar recruiting program with all the new material.
Yeah, it's all been updated, all that jazz, all the good stuff. And then Rich and I, of course, have our recruiting collective, which is our subscription that you can be part of. That we have this whole, not only the manuals, but the slides from Logan of Housing Wire and all that for our clients. So let's jump right in. One of the biggest things you're going to hear buzz about that Rich and I want to make sure that you're up to speed on is the new relationship with Canva. So, Rich, what would you like to add about this so for them to walk away from?
Well, I think that some of the announcements with Canva and the marketing and the new CMO that they're looking to hire, we're still hopefully going to get more information on that. And I would assume at Mega Camp there's going to be a big rollout, but that's an assumption. But yeah, we've created a partnership with Canva, and I don't know the details. They didn't go into the specifics on what that means, what's different, but they seem to be pretty excited about that. So hopefully we're going to get some details on some of these and some of the other marketing things that that the CEO talked about.
Well, one of the cool things about Stone Point that's worth noting, if you go look at Stone Point Partnership, their website, they show all the relationships. So CoreLogic and Lone Wolf are part of our real estate family now with this partnership. And those are the programs that run all the MLSs of the United States. So the coolest part about this relationship, I think that we need to definitely mention, is the integration of the MLS data. So that was one of the cool factors of Command, and yet people didn't like the design element of it. Well, now we're taking a program that nearly most of our agents use or are familiar with, and they're putting a brand box in for luxury, commercial, residential, East Coast, West Coast, Northern, Southern, different brand boxes so that you have what you want for templates. And yet the integration with the MLS is the big deal. Now, with this relationship, we don't have to go through the MLS. We go right to our partner, Stone Point, which is super cool. So that's what's coolest about this, is that we're able to take this new relationship with Stone Point and utilize some of the benefits of it to build a really strong relationship with Canva that is proprietary. And again, we're providing our own data link. So it's really cool that we're able to pull that off in the first 60 days of our new CEO being in place. So I was really fired up about that, because that's exciting to see what's ahead. And talking to him a little bit offline, hearing his vision of the CMO, that's someone that's going to come in and develop collateral both for our agents and our leadership. Not just our agents, not just develop brand boxes for our agents, but yet get you a proper recruiting piece, a collateral piece about communities, or the different value props. They see that as a massive gap, and I think we'd all agree that we are all kind of just making our own stuff in that area, and yet we're competing with some pretty sexy looking companies. So they expect to level that up as quickly as they can hire that person. So that's the human they're looking for. It's the CMO, I believe Chief Marketing Officer is, I think, what it stood for, right, Rich?
Yep.
So I don't know about you guys, but that's been something I've been missing for 20 years. I mean, I'm like, wow, that's cool. And I think that'll also give us the ability to help our agents share the message or the market of the moment by having kind of ready to click and post type things. And in general, pretty much any agent knows how to use Canva. So
It seemed to me that they already had that stuff in the works in terms of the company, the people that were working on the marketing pieces, even though we don't have the CMO in place yet. So that was really good news. So we'll be anxious to see what all that stuff looks like.
So another thing worth noting, if you weren't there, one of the things I think was really cool is we got to watch Gary and Chris Zarnecki. I really have to think about how to say his name. Chris, the new CEO. It was nice to see them hang out together and talk to each other and share the vision together because this is a lot of new to us. So, they discussed that the reason this partnership was so important is it really stabilized KWRI. Gary has a big checkbook, but now we have a Wall Street level checkbook when it comes to investments or things that we're doing. And with all that we had gone through with that lawsuit and all the change, it really was a stabilization of KWI by bringing in a career track CEO versus someone that grew up in the company and became CEO. And Chris comes from the real estate world, so he's been around. So I thought that was really great, and I just love that element of them sharing together. What did you think, Rich?
Yeah, no, and Chris is not the rah-rah, type of leader that we've had in the past that a lot of us, have been used to. He's a very quiet strategic thinker, obviously part of a huge organization, with Stone Point. So it's going to be a great, I think it's going to be great to have somebody that brings that different approach to business, and
Yeah.
just has a different style. We got plenty of people that can do the rah rah, pump you up kind of stuff. Jason, as an example. So it's nice to have a different, type of a personality up there.
Right. Now, switching gears, Gary did talk about change and people struggling with difficult times and fear. And he talked about the different ways we kind of stretch ourselves and adapt. I was reading these, and he's talking about the different ways you can overcome things. And the myelin effect is what you are when you're a team leader for many years. You whatever you do, it becomes you. But that when we have challenges or change or fear, depending on what we do, will help us overcome it. And he talked a lot about what controlling what you do control. And what we can be certain about is what we think, what we say, what we do. And yet during uncertain times, you control your probability. And again, he said you control your probability by controlling what you think, what you say, what you do. You improve your own odds in any situation when there's uncertainty or change by controlling that. And it was just a really powerful session from him. And he just reminded us that fear is an emotion of the future that we don't control. And it was great to hear him really talk about us getting a handle on ourselves and our own thinking first, because we lead so many, so our thinking is the lid of everyone around us. So, is there anything you'd add to that, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was also said that I wrote down in my notes is that if you improve 1% a day, that's going to be 37% improvement for the year. So it's about, like Jessica was talking about, it's about the little things. It's about the little improvements. It's about working on your mindset and moving forward and having a goal and a commitment each day so that you can win the day, right? And those small wins over time is what's going to add up. So 1% improvement a day is going to be a 37% improvement for the year.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
One of the featured speakers was Logan from Housing Wire. He is definitely worth following on Pinterest, I'm sorry, Instagram, and on Facebook and on YouTube. He is a data driven guy. So he's not fluff, he's not, clickbait. He is just an analytical dude, and he can give you some great information about what's happening, and he's great at predicting and interpreting the market. So definitely worth tracking him. And yeah, there's some really cool things that he shared that were great news. For the last now 16 weeks in a row, the mortgage purchase application index has had a massive spike in activity. So when we see that kind of increase in positive activity, that's a leading indicator of what's to come in the market. So my husband used to be a mortgage lender for 25 years, and he said he was 45 to 90 days ahead of the market showing up. So this to him means the next 45 to 90 days in most markets, there's going to be some amazing buyer activity. Now, can't guarantee every market's like that, but that's really great news when you look at the temperature of the market in general. Rich, would you
Yeah.
add anything to that?
Yeah, and I think what was powerful is that he hadn't seen that. I mean, he was making a big deal, about that, and he's not a guy that makes a big deal out of stuff in terms of getting real excited. He's an
Yeah.
analytical data guy, and he was pretty positive on that. A couple of the things that I wrote down is that that 40% of all U.S. homeowners own their house free and clear, 40%. And of the 60% that have a loan, those people have a 47% LTV, loan to value, which basically means that of the people that have loans in the United States, there's 50% equity in those homes, right? So, that 47% of those people that they have a loan to value ratio of 47% of the people that have loans
So much
in the
wealth
US.
and
Yeah.
equity tied up in homes right now. So teaching people how to leverage that
Yeah.
to continue to grow their wealth is like a no-brainer.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of
I-
money out there.
We have
Yeah.
that,
And
we have
go
that
ahead.
in a slide ahead, but I do want to back up and remind one of the things he hit on before that was, hey guys, wake up. Gen X is the second highest buyer demographic. They like to be marketed to differently. They're on different channels. Are you providing the experience they are drawn to? Like they don't want to go on a showing. They want to be shown. They want you to go live for them to preview a property. They don't want to meet you there. So he was touching on that and the importance of us making sure we're not alienating a huge opportunity pool because we're just used to doing things a certain way. Are we, changing how we're doing things to take advantage of that? And then he also just said sales are about to rise, bottom line, because of all these things. And Rich just jumped into it. 40% of homes don't have a mortgage, and like he said, 47% loan to value ratio. So Rich, when you see that or hear that, what action would you take as an OP, a TL, or just an agent, knowing that like your database has a lot of money just sitting there?
Well, I think that's it is marketing to the database and getting in relationship again with the people in the database and letting them know about the market conditions and talking to them about increasing their portfolio, investment properties, move up. What's their strategy if they have one? About for the real estate market that's about to change. Nobody has a crystal ball in terms of when, but there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, myself, I look at, how can I get more properties, because we all know what's going to happen here, with the 30% more inventory. So it's going to be a more a balanced market in terms of when the light switch goes on and rates come down. All these mortgage applications, there's a lot of pent up demand. He used that word. He said, I don't like to use that word, but I'm using that word. Right. And so it's the rocket ship's getting ready to take off. We know that's going to happen. So how are we communicating that as real estate professionals to our database? Right. That's the real opportunity that I see.
Well, and one friendly reminder, if you go to the Keller Inc. website, kellerink.com, and you click on MREI or flip or hold, in the downloadables is an investor workshop seminar, down to the flyer, down to the PowerPoint, down to the workbook you'd give. You guys could take all those other little touches that are downloadables and actually make a smart plan and develop a smart investor smart plan. You could do something at your offices for all of your agents as like a thing. So that's how you tap into that, is you encourage them to talk about it, right? Just like Rich was saying. And yet a lot of our peeps are get overwhelmed. Like, I don't know if I could throw an investor seminar. Well, what if one was done at the office as a joint event? That takes the overwhelm out of it. And yet, if you guys even just created a smart plan out of the different downloadables on that website, you could empower your people to really create this message, help them have that message. So great
Yeah.
opportunity.
And also I've been sharing this with some of my personal agents that I have on my market centers, about creating, your hot buy list. Everybody wants to be in the know of the hot buys. Inventory is building, so price reductions are happening. What did it say? 37% of the listings across the country have had price reductions. So there's great buys that are happening in the price categories in all markets. And if you're marketing that stuff to your database, you're flushing out people that understand this and want to invest. I've had, we've created a couple transactions to some of the agents that I'm coaching here in the last couple of weeks just by doing that. Just wow, that sounds like a really good deal. Are you telling anybody about it? Post that on your Facebook and see what happens. Ping me if you want more information. Send it out, and guess what? Double end. Come up with a buyer. All of a sudden things are happening because I don't think agents are thinking that way. A lot of them didn't come through that market. Remember, what's the
Yeah.
statistic that like 70% of the agents have not been through, a changed market, a market with price reductions. And so they don't necessarily know what hot buys are or how to create that excitement because they got in the business in the last 4 or 5 years where things are flying off the shelves and they didn't have to understand that piece.
Well,
So
they don't
think
even
about
know how
that.
to deal with increased inventory and needing to be competitive, potentially needing to be a jewel box to sell, or pricing strategies. And that's what we're going to be moving into in some markets. In some markets, it's still pretty much not there, and yet in some markets, it's pretty much already there. So it's just new skill. The next person they featured was Sarah Wheeler. I really strongly recommend that you guys go subscribe to the Housing Wire Daily podcast that she runs. And it's free, it's great information. And again, our buddy Logan is featured like once weekly. Jack Miller, who used to run our tech division, who's now the president of T360, is a part of a company that helps sell and buy and merge brokerages. And he was sharing how business valuation requests are way up and that businesses are selling, and that if he was going to approach indies, it would be with that kind of golden handoff conversation. In the next 3 years, have you thought about positioning yourself to sell, or what is your plans, and could we talk about that? And he said in initiating that conversation, just by initiating it, the 3 years certainly soon becomes 90 days. He said in many cases when they start just really openly talking. And so they brought him in to make us aware of that. Like, lots of things are happening. You may not notice it unless you look for it in your market, but you'll notice small brokerages now are partnering or no longer in existence. And that's what we've been talking about for like the last 2 years. So it's happening, and in some markets it's more noticeable than others.
It's
So
happening in a big way right now because people, there's a
Kelly.
lot of people that tried to survive, tried to make it through it, and it hasn't turned, and people are bailing out. They're too over encumbered. They have too much space. Myself personally, in the last 6 months, we've picked up 300 agents, in three different, situations, and it's just it's fortunate and it's unfortunate. And so you need to be in communication and relationship with people so that when the opportunity's there, you're able to capitalize on that if that's what you want to do. But this is the time for indies. I know we've been talking about it for 2 years, but this is really the time because some of these people are just going down for the third time and they can't hang for another 6 months, until the market
Now,
turns or 2025. They just don't have it.
so we have a couple more points just to share that are just kind of the topics that we also discussed. But before we do that, I do want to go pin a couple pages in the manuals. In the OP manual, page 19, Gabby Maddox shares how they're getting approximately 5 to 8 hires of experienced agents a month through their Instagram. And if you go look at KW West Atlanta, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that like amazing what they're doing. And yet the system she shared is very simple. And it's step by step on page 19. When introducing themselves and what they did, it's really about just being seen regularly by everyone in their MLS, and they're getting people to come to them, because if you listen to any of their messaging, there's a call to action on each one. So people are DMing them or direct messaging them in the right lingo on Instagram to meet with them. So check out that model. I've been preaching about using your recruiting TV show properly, and she's doing it. So if you want a good person to follow, follow Gabby Maddox and follow KW West Atlanta, and go check out page 19 in the OP manual. If we turn to the team leader manual, which starts at page 50, if you put these all together, the G5 is really well explained for those that maybe don't have that dialed in on page 52. I would hand that to the leadership team that's implementing this and ask them to audit how they're doing, because it's about constant improvement with that program, and leveling things up. Because in some markets, it could be your G15 program like it is in Clearwater. We're getting 10 to 18 newbies through this system every month to hit 20 or 22. That's how we're doing that. And I will be interviewing my team this next week. I'll be recording it. I'll be sharing it to go through how they're doing that, but they're really just following G5 really well and dialed it in. Page 63, the 5 levels of team leader, the steps, is a really good thing for you to kind of self-evaluate where you're at, because it's really just about getting better and going to that next step. And that's becoming a better coach, a better consultant, a better MREA model sharer, all those things. And then page 79, they really nailed the 4 quads. So I just wanted you to pin those, because you're probably working on one of those elements. Maybe you need to get better at using the 4 quadrants to get into better pain and gaps. Well, then, print out 79. And then the calendar models they shared were really epic. And that starts at page 90 and goes through page 103. So go check those things out. Those were the biggest things that were shared in the team leader section. And yet the PC and MCA, I'd share that with the right people so they could check those things out as well. Very well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the other thing too, and maybe you're going to touch on this in the PowerPoint, but on the OP side, I was in all those classes and masterminds, and the thing that I guess I would sum it up is what we were talking about with the market at the very beginning. This is my view. My view is I think that the market is going to turn here in the next 6 months, if not 2025, right at the beginning. And whatever your prediction is, it is what it is. But the point is that now's the time to get in position. Now's the time to pick up indies. Now's the time to get your new agent program going so you can get those people licensed and trained. So when this market turns and rates come down and the pent-up demand happens and it gets crazy again, you have enough bodies to capture business, because there's going to be a lot of businesses going to fall out of the sky like we saw before, and you have to have enough people. So we need to be getting not only the experienced people, getting our new agent system built and an army of people there. We got to get our people trained and in the right mindset and ready to go, because I truly believe that this is going to happen, within the next, 6 months to 2020, beginning of 2025. So
And it's
call
going
it
to be a
6 to 10.
sprint for recruiting. It's going to be a sprint for recruiting, because the market's going to be a little different. It's not going to be a painful market. Last time people lost homes, we don't have that situation anymore. This is a positive market shift. This is just a market change. So it's going to create momentum shift for recruiting. So it's also the easiest recruiting you'll have, but it's going to be short-lived. You're
Yeah.
going to have to bring people over before the market gets easy again. As soon as the market gets easy again, it's gonna get quiet again. So use this time wisely,
To
or you're
build.
gonna kick yourself in the butt. You'll regret it later if you don't.
Yeah, and like, for some of you, like, here in California, like I am, I mean, it takes like 5 or 6 months to get your license. So if the market, turns whenever it turns, January of 2025, and all of a sudden everybody says, I want to get licensed, I don't get to do anything with any of those people until June. And I've already missed that first half of the year. So you think
Yeah.
about strategically how you're gonna, position yourself and your people. So when that happens, we're ready to go.
So share those materials, but like Rich shared before, 1% improvement is still a 37% improvement by the end of the year, which is exceptional. Every one of us would be happy with that.
Yeah.
And yet it's not about perfection,
Th-
it's about improvement.
This
You know,
this quote real quick before you switch. Think about this
yeah.
quote. This is a great quote that I sent to my team leaders in the OP section. So get hung up on market share, not company dollar. If you get hung up on market share, the company dollar will follow. So this is when they're talking about of taking territory, right? Take market share. Go after the megas, go after the indies. Let's focus on where you're at market share wise in your communities, in your areas, and what can we do to grab more market share? What are the big listing agents? What are some of those people that what kind of deals do we need to make to grab market share? So again, when things turn,
We
you
have all
have the
the
market
listings.
share. Hmm.
Yep, we have the listings. We control everything then. It's so fun when you're in that position. Well, just remember we care about you. We've got some classes coming up. If you want to be part of any of our upcoming classes, you can always just reach out to either of us or just scan our QR code. We're like a walking QR code, aren't we? Love
Any
it.
thoughts, questions before we wrap up here in the last couple minutes? Anybody that I know, Kira, some of you guys were there. Anybody want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a great event. I mean, I like Jessica how you broke down the Canva and how we'll utilize it because it feels like they kind of brushed it, you know what I mean? But how you broke it down was really, really good there. Also, I signed up for the recruiting mastery, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I pretty much do at least I probably every time you guys done it, I probably jumped on. And the reason why I continue to do it is because I'm a fan of systems and tools and resources. And for me, it makes my recruiting so much easier when I have the best tools and the best information. So if you guys have not signed up for it, I definitely encourage you guys all to do it because you guys will walk away with a lot of great tools, a lot of great resources, and really be able to stand out and be a great recruiter, for the agents that you're bringing in, as well as great tools that will help you retain the great agents that you already have.
Well,
Well,
thanks
thank
for
you for
that.
that. Appreciate it. And we can't wait to see you on in a little bit. Here's the thing though, every session is a standalone as well. So if you just really need help with closing or transitioning and onboarding and getting more hires from that, whatever that you need, we've got it all broken down. So jump into what you need the most. We all
Yep,
could
you can a
use
la carte it.
we could all use a little bit of dusting off the rust for this market ahead. Let's be honest. Okay, you guys have a powerful day. It's great spending time with you.
See you guys.